Here's the honest truth. Success is not about the age or stage of your equine business. It's about knowing where you want to go and using that vision of success as your filter for every decision along the way. Because when you have a clear vision and a system for measuring your personal version of success, then you can make confident, strategic decisions for your equine business. And that's what we do inside of Take the Reins, my one-on-one coaching program. It's a personalized one-on-one business coaching program for equestrian entrepreneurs ready to ditch the marketing overwhelm, overcome the roadblocks holding you back, and grow an equine business that meets your version of success. Friends, you know this about me. I am not here to promise you millions of followers or viral moments because that's for influencers. But if you want to connect with the right people and build a business that works for you, then I'm your coach. I have 8 slots available right now, and once they fill, I will not be opening slots again until 2026. So I invite you to head to stormlily.com/reins, get all the information, apply today, and let's work together to build your dream equine business. Hello there, and welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I am so glad you're joining me here today. As you've likely guessed by now, my name is Denise Alvarez, and before we dive into today's episode and I introduce you to my amazing guest, I will quickly introduce myself just in case we're new friends, and then we'll dive right in. Now, as I said, my name is Denise, and through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream-chasing horse business owners to ditch the marketing overwhelm, get the clarity they've been craving, and grow their business in a way that meets their definition of success. Now, I do this primarily through business coaching and then education, such as this podcast, and I have some online learning resources for you as well. All that I do, friends, is so that you, as an equestrian entrepreneur, can be out doing what you love to do, whether you're in the barn, in the arena, outside, inside, behind the camera lens, making gear, all the things. The way you serve the equine industry and that you love it, I want you to do more of that. So here on this podcast, you'll get a mix of step-by-step strategies, essential how-tos, and entrepreneurial mindset shifts that will help you not only see what's possible for your business, but I'm also here to guide you through that process so you can make it happen. And one of the ways we do that here on the podcast is by introducing you to your fellow entrepreneurs so that you can learn from their journey and their story. And today, I'm going to introduce you to Brooke Drassal. I hope I'm saying that accurately. Sometimes I say it different ways in my mind. But I can't wait for you to meet her. She is an equine body worker. But beyond that, she's a stellar businesswoman. And she loves people well. She loves horses well. And I know you've got so much to learn because we can all learn from one another, regardless of the phase, season, or stage of business. Because here's what I know, friends. If you've ever felt behind in your business or you've wrestled with the pressure to grow faster, then your time here today is going to be well spent because Brooke's story will encourage you to keep going. And in this episode, you're going to hear about the power of staying faithful to the dreams you have for your business, doing the work, and being along for the ride. Like, I love that part of Brooke's story is she just continued to do what she was passionate about. Now, like many of you, the horses came first for Brooke, but she realized early on in the business building parts that it takes more than passion to build a sustainable business. And you'll hear how she leaned into that passion with patience and persistence, doing the work without rushing the outcome. Brooke's story is a great reminder that when you let go of pressure and you trust the process and build from a place of service, then you create space for steady growth and deeper purpose. And I think that's beautiful. So with all of that said, friends, let me introduce you to Brooke Drassal. Okay, Brooke, thank you so much for joining me here on the podcast. I am so grateful for your gift of time, and I can't wait to dive more into your story.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about it. This is a new and exciting thing for me. So thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we've gotten to know each other a little bit this year, but I'm excited to hear a little bit more about how you've gotten to the point where you are now. So, while I know this can be a big question, I would love for you to share a bit about your background. Tell us about how you got into horses, perhaps, maybe, and how you got into body working, and now even to the point where you have your own business, but you also help other body workers with theirs. So, share a little bit about that journey with us.
Certainly. I was actually super fortunate. I was born and raised on a horse farm. So, my parents, we had a farm out in Minnesota. They bred and raised Arabians. So, from a teeny tiny little tot, I was out there with those horses. So, I've never known life without horses, really. Um, as a kid, they're just like, I guess I probably took it for granted because 'cause I'm like, that's the horses. They're out in the backyard. I gotta go out and, like, feed them and, those sort of things. But all it built, like, number 1, my work ethic because the horses are not a, easy luxury. They require work. So they built my work ethic, but they also were always, like, the thing I went to when I, like, needed to, like, just Get get with myself, really, like, just calm down and, like, hang out with my horses and do all that. So, as a kid, I was fortunate enough to, like, have another friend, and we would ride around for literally a day, like, the whole day. We would be riding and doing things. Our poor horses, I'm like, "Did we stop and feed them and let them drink water?" We didn't. We were just wild little animals. So, that's kind of like how I started. I mean, had a little Shetland pony that I rode around, and that little thing taught me a lot of life's important skills because they have their own mind, and they just do whatever they wanna do. So, I learned from that and then just kept kinda going up, and when I was a kid, having a saddle on a horse was like that was way too much work, so we just rode around bareback all the time, and, I always yeah, we just had tons of experiences, and then I showed and did a bunch of things that way in the Arabian world, but I always, always would ask my mom for a quarter horse. In my heart, I wanted a quarter horse,
Oh, wow.
and it was always absolutely not, because we were an Arabian breeding farm, and we had
Yeah.
very nice horses that way, but I was like, How about, like, a quarter Arabian? How about" that always, always. So now, years later, I finally got my quarter horse, and I'm in that end of the world. But, yeah, so the horses have always been in my life, but I actually fought my mom a ton because she was like, "Well, horses are always gonna be part of your life, like, you're always gonna be doing this. I have a feeling your career will end up going down this line," and I was like, "Mm-mm, nope, mm-mm." So I went off on my own and I managed a clothing store, I did a bunch of other things, and then I was, like, pretty lost. So I was fortunate enough my parents had a boarder at their farm who she worked at the University of Minnesota, and she was in charge of their rehab, so she did both the small animal and the large animal rehab. Um, and then on the side, she would do some body work on the horses, and then she had this machine I had never heard of called functional electrical stimulation. So, I started to get to know her and, like, how she did things with animals and, like, would rehab these animals back from surgery and things like that. So I found it really interesting, and I did, a tour at the University of Minnesota just to kinda see what it was like, and it was this whole new world that I really hadn't ever been a part of and or really, like, thought about. So she became a pillar in my she shaped my life. So she encouraged me. Number 1, I got signed up for vet tech school. So at the time, Argosy University was here. So I went to school there and did that program. And I finished that in like a year and a half. It's a 2-year course, but I had done a bunch of stuff prior. So then from there, I could do an internship and I could kinda choose wherever I wanted to go, and she was like, "No, you're going to Florida, you're going with the best, you're gonna go to Peterson and Smith, and then from there, you're gonna do the massage course," and I was like, "Okay." So, and the massage course was who she went through as well. So that was really special. That was really cool. So I went down to Florida. I did my internship for the vet tech end of things. And then, I mean, that was like a million pieces of information and education there. Like it was incredible. And then once I finished that, then I went over and did my massage course. And that was like a 2-week course. And it was wonderful because I could still stay at Pearson and Smith at the same time. So, like, during the evening, I'd go through and, like, feel every horse and, like, feel different body types and this and that, and it was, like, so educational. So, once I finished all that, I came back to Minnesota and I got a job at the University of Minnesota, which was insane. So I was a vet tech there on overnights. So I would work overnights at the U, and then during the day, I would um, work on like massage horses. And I kind of
Mm.
started out with my mentor, like just kind of apprenticing and watching how she did things. And then she'd have me feel the horses, and then her, and then we'd talk about it. And then soon it was that she was referring clients to me as she was kind of trying to get out of the massage end because it was tough on her body. And then that prospered. So then I was going off and doing a side hustle basically with the massage end of things. And then I was a vet tech during the overnights, which was also this wealth of knowledge. And it was also a thing where they knew I did massage, so if anybody at the U asked about massage, then I was kinda getting referrals that way. I worked on a few horses that would stay there overnight, so it was really cool that way, how we were kinda melding. And then, from there, I did the research for the, functional electrical stimulation. So, the former owner of Equinu, who does the, functional electrical stimulation, she needed to get research out to really show how the machine works. So we did, a 12-week study where like right before we began, we did like ultrasounds, x-rays. I don't think we did muscle biopsies at that point, but we did a bunch of like before stuff. And then at 6 weeks, we checked in to see kind of where they were at and what was happening. And then at 12 weeks, we had the final. And I was like blown away. At this point, I didn't really understand FES and how much it can help the horses and those sort of things, and then watching the whole process and seeing these horses from start to beginning, I was like, sold, sold. So it was just such an incredible technology. So then I added another tool to the toolbox. So then I would help out if they were gonna go on vacation and they needed me to jump in to help with a horse or something. I was doing that because at the time I still couldn't afford to buy one of those machines because they are expensive. So I helped out and did that kind of stuff for a while, and then, eventually, I stayed at the U for about 5 years, and then eventually left there and started doing I managed a jumper farm, so I would do all, like, the property kinda care stuff, and then I would have my business on the side, and my boss at the time really supported that because I knew her from this mentor also, so we kind of worked together that way, and then that job kind of exploded where I became, like, a groom for her, and then we traveled to horse shows, and we did all these things, and it was awesome, but I was getting pulled in different directions and kinda seeing where I needed to go, but it was the networking extravaganza. I got to meet a million people and see how people like, how the top athletes do things, and, um, it was amazing, and that my old boss, she was the one who got me my first machine and invested in things, and then it was just awesome. It was a great experience, and then, I think after about, like, 4, 5 years with her, then I finally took the leap and went out on my own. Scariest thing I've ever done, and, I never thought that my schedule would be filled and I could really, like, manage this on my own, and, wham, we are here, so it's 15 years of the equine body work with things put all over the place and then, out on my own. So it's been quite a ride, but an awesome, awesome experience. And, obviously my background with the horses has created a whole
Right? Your mom was right after
yeah.
all.
Shoot, mom was right, and, that I end up having to say a lot more than I ever expected, but I do agree with that she saw it before I did, which I think many do.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. Well, and I love that, when you said your eyes were open, like, to something new, I'm working with, an equine nutritionist right now for her website, and that's part of her story is, like, she never even knew this field existed, and when she found out about it, she was like, that was the, like, light bulb moment. I'm like, "This is available, and this goes hand in hand with what I love," like, it kinda put things together for her, and so I love that, where you can marry like, your passions and gifts with also the passions and gifts of horses is so fun.
Right.
What I also love is that you were willing to, like when you said side hustle, like, we're not kidding. That was a hustle season, you know what I mean? And I think it's
It
so
seriously was.
important for people to see and hear that too, and know that, like, there's permission to grind sometimes. Like, it's that, yes, I want you to have balance as an entrepreneur. Yes, I want you to have clear goals and alignment, and sometimes your clear goals are going to be like, "In this season, we hustle,"
Yeah.
and that's okay. That doesn't mean that's what you do forever, right? So I'm gonna guess you're not working a lot of overnights right now and running your business, but at one time you had to get your feet wet.
And that's my biggest thing that I stress to everyone is number 1, like, you're seeing me now, this is, like, 15 years later, but, like, you have to put in the time in the beginning, and it is a hustle, and it sometimes feels tireless and like you're never gonna get there, whatever, but I guarantee you that if you put in the time and you network and you do the things that are your to-dos, you will make it, you will.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that, you're right, and when I talk to coaching clients sometimes, like, they want, like, they won't say, "I wanna do it the easy way," right? But sometimes on a call, you can kinda hear them saying, like, "It's not supposed to be that hard." I think that that's sometimes the mentality that we have, right? Like, "It's not
It's
supposed to
tough.
be this hard," you know? But yeah, it's lovely, it's beautiful, it's fun, and oftentimes it's hard, and you have to be willing to be scrappy and do those things, so I love that. Now, again, back into that same thread, my next question to you is therefore, it's of course been hard. So tell us a little bit, what has been some of the roadblocks, some of the things that have been quote unquote hard, or maybe things that surprised you or challenged you along the way as you've built out your body working business?
Yeah. So, I mean, as an entrepreneur, many of us who are, like, I don't think you realize the, amounts of hats you're gonna wear. Like, you're an accountant, you're a marketer, you're a business person, you're a tax person, you're like, it literally shocked me the amount of things that all like, especially once your business starts to, like, really prosper, where you're like, holy smokes, there is a lot more involved in this than I thought." So, I think it was and it's like the slow unraveling where, like, at first you're just, like, hustling to try and get clients and figure it out that way. At that time, you're not thinking about, like, "Oh, I should be getting my taxes sorted at this like, maybe first. I should do
Mhm.
all of these other" like, that stuff kind of goes you have all these ideas, and as entrepreneurs, we wanna go out and get our ideas and, like, do our passion and all of those sort of things. So, I think number 1, my biggest roadblock was no, I can't do it all. I can't.
Mm.
I have to be realistic, and I'm lucky enough now that I can hire people and, like, get the help around it that I need, but back when I was just kinda starting, I had to really depend on my network of people that I knew to kinda direct me on, like, "Okay, you do need to have a CPA. You've gotta have somebody who's gonna be able to help you out on that tax end of things because your finances are important that way." And then, I had other people who were very technologically advanced. So they'd be like, "Okay, I'm going to make you a little sheet that you can like write on for your clients." So they have a piece of paper to like have for all of their, your communications. And, when you're explaining things, they need to visually see it as well. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. That's something that's good." So, I worked a ton off people who were, like, so blessed and able to, like, give me their help without me having to pay them, but then it was that I had to learn and then kind of add it into my business. So, it was a lot of me sitting at my computer, um, trying to decide how to clip something in one area and add it to the next and then make it look all together, like, professional in some sort of manner. So, yeah, there was just you've gotta be a little slick that way to be able to figure things out, and if you can't, you got your people who you can call, luckily, I know tons of business people, so, we're able to make it work regardless, and that's another piece of why I'm so, like, passionate to help other people because I've gone through it and I've tried it all, so I know that there are a lot of roadblocks and a lot of things to, like, conquer, but, yeah, so number 1 was finding out how many hats the, business owner has. That was always something that was interesting there. And then when I got involved in doing equine body work, and equine body work meaning like mainly massage was my biggest part at that point, was that massage wasn't like really known, like, especially with the horses, as like a go-to. It was one of those things that, like, people thought in their head, like, "Oh, that's a nice little treat." And it was like an every so often do it, and it was a really hard thing to start to convince people that, like, this actually should be a part of your program, and here are the benefits to, like, why having this a part of your program, like, we can start to get ahead of, like, if we're feeling injury, soreness, those sort of things, like, we have to treat this horse like the athlete that they are versus as this just being like a little treat for you. So, one of those the biggest roadblocks was just the education portion, like, and people just didn't know it, that it's not that people were being rude or anything like that. It was just simply breaking it down and talking to them like, "Hey, are you an athlete? Do you like when you get tight and sore and everything else, does that make you continue to want to do your job? And then are you doing that job successfully? Are you compensating? Is that compensation then leading to an injury?" So once I started like breaking things down for clients, that's why I'm so huge on educating people. Um, that roadblock started to get less and less. And then it was the same thing with the vets because I'm quite networked with the vets. I love to be a part of a team, and, the vets kind of were the same where they kinda started out. I had a group of them that were pretty forward, like, "Yes, massage is definitely a good thing." But there was also the group that was like, "I mean, yeah, you can do the massage, like, I can't it's not it whatever." And then that was another thing to, like, try and start building my relationships with the vets to start showing them, like, "No, I'm telling you that I really believe that if we can keep these muscles happy in this way, like, then we're aiding you in being able to really get to the core of the problem." And those relationships were tough. Like, a lot of these vets were really set in their ways, and it was a tough thing to kinda navigate, but I also didn't disappear. I was always kinda there. So we were really, like, working through a lot of these things that, were potential roadblocks, but we've got we have great vets, and they have a million things on their minds, so it was just kinda navigating how to, like, be at the front of their mind because they have tons of things that they're thinking about, but also being a person that they can, like, bounce things off of too and be like, "Hey, I'm really struggling with this horse. Like, do you have any thoughts on it, or would you be able to get your hands on it, and, like, let's talk about it." And it became more like that team approach where, it used to be very like segregated. Everyone was for themselves. Like they're going to be the one to fix the horse. They didn't like the team aspect wasn't as big. Um And in Florida was much more ahead, where Florida, I was seeing a lot of, like, us intermingling and working together. It took a bit up here in Minnesota for sure to start to get that, but one now that we've kind of unlocked that, it's been a huge thing because I work so close with all of these people I really, and even like you talked about, like nutritionists and the farriers, the vets, owners, all of it. Like I love to have this big team approach for everything. So it was kind of breaking down those blocks between us and being like, I'm on your page. In the end, all we want is for this horse to do the best that they can do. How can we do that together? So that ended up being a big block that taught me a ton, and it taught me to, like, not just, like, accept no, number 1, but, to try and figure out a better way to go about talking about these areas and, like, how to not step on people's toes because I didn't wanna be like, "Oh, no, I'm the know-it-all, like, this is it, whatever." Like, you've gotta do it gracefully and, like, be someone who they're like, "Oh, no, they're, like, on my team because that's just what I want, is to be a part of a team and, that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
that was a big part of, like, figuring out the communication and how to get through to people and educate people that way. Um,
I wanna shine a light on that one for people that are listening too, because what I keep hearing from you in that is relationship.
yes,
Right? Like, that's what I keep hearing you talk about, and when you say that, it's like the key was having that relationship with people where they could build that trust in you,
yeah,
along the way, and I think that, yeah, if you instead go in with the approach of like, "Hey, you need me, I know what I'm doing," or, "You're missing out if you're not doing this," right? There are a lot of different ways that people could be approaching that, but when you come at it from like, "Hey, you're a person, you care about the horse, you have your expertise, like how can we bring our minds together for the benefit of the horse and the owner?" I think that's beautiful and that's really key for people to hear. I want to just shine a light on that for a second.
no, for sure. I totally agree. It's one of my number 1 things that I'm like, the networking, the communication, like, all of that kind of it's just, like, front and forward. If you can do that kind of thing, you'll do well with people in general, It's a huge part of my success and how I've built all my relationships is through that. So, no, that's been great. Um Otherwise, other blocks would have been, you know, the situation of, like, people paying me. Those
Yeah, tell me
that
more.
that was, like, such a block because I don't it's another thing you just don't really think about. Like, at the time when I started, it was like, people would throw me some cash and, like, that would be fine, but as things built, you had to come up with easy ways, number 1, for people to pay you, and then different ways. Like, now I accept every single type of payment under the sun, basically, is what I think. But, yeah, becoming the bill collector in your hats on top of everything else, and what's fair and what's not, like Venmo charges you a fee for using them, but then do you turn around and charge the client that fee, or do you just eat that fee because it's the cost of business? Same with the credit cards, like, which credit
Mhm.
card company do you go with? Do you just eat that fee? Do you charge the fee? Like, there was so many of those types of blocks that I had to go through to be like, "All right, is the cost of business really worth this cost of business?" Um,
Mhm.
and it's still something that you keep the rates for the credit card and Venmo, they keep kinda going up, and, yeah, it's an interesting one where you can't just decide, like, this is how it's gonna be and stick with it because as the times go, you just kinda have to meld with everything. It's kind of the same thing with like my the way that I keep track of the sessions that I have. I had the woman who did my website, she also created my like intake forms and session notes and those sort of things. And it's good. At the time, I was like, yes, this is it. This is how we do it. And now I've slowly gotten like feedback from different clients and I need to like kind of tweak and change things. And then another big thing for people that you don't think about is that internet service or phone service in general in barns
The barn,
is
yeah.
legit not a
Yeah.
most barns I go to, I'm lucky I go to a lot that have put in Wi-Fi and things like that, but for the most part, you are out of service. So then you need a way to keep track of your session notes that are like that is it doesn't require a network, basically. So then now that's my next thing I'm trying to figure out is like, the thing I have now, it still just doesn't do it for me. So I'm trying to find the best program out there, which is also another task upon itself to
Yeah.
find the program, but also, like, does it have all the things I need? Because I found many, but the things I need is essential. So, yeah, then I find the roadblock of like, "Oh, man, session notes, here we go. We
Uh-huh.
we gotta figure this one out, and I've gotta do what's best for my clients," you know? It's them who are getting them, and they have to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um so and then I want something that's, like, all inclusive because as a client, as a person in general for all of us, we have about, like, 2 seconds of time to look at something, see what they've said, and then apply what they've said. So I need something that's, like, very concise, to the point, gives them, like, their homework that they need to do, what to look for, good, bada bing, we're there.
Yeah.
So that's another part of just like the growing of the business, but kind of a roadblock in like, wow, all right, this is another thing I didn't even think would be an issue. But it's a huge
Right?
issue. Communication with your clients and
Yeah.
keeping up with everyone and having like clear, concise ways of doing that. That number one, the success of the horse in general is going to be there, the success with your client because you're keeping up your communication and you're being clear about things. And you feel good because you're like, "Yeah, I've done it. I did everything I needed to follow through with this client, and we're on the right path, basically."
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Well, and for one, I appreciate your honesty about those things because that's like something in the moment, right? And so
uh,
what I want everyone listening to hear too is that it's okay if you're experiencing challenges in your business. Like that is part of growth. And this is like something I've learned that we all don't love. And I'm there oftentimes is like growth is not comfortable. It's not meant to be
yes,
comfortable. So we're all like, yeah, I want to grow and I want to grow my business and I have these big ideas. And it's like, okay, then buckle down because that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. But it's worth it. But I want those listening to just like kind of notch that and just like remember maybe someone's listening and saying like they're facing something and going, I thought I was already past this. I thought I wasn't going to have to deal with this anymore. Like I'm on this growth track, but there are going to be things along the way. I had a podcast guest named Stacey Westfall a few months ago, and she talked about, I asked her this question, and she was like, I just don't even view them as roadblocks. She was like, I had to take a moment with your question because I've worked so hard mentally to not see it as that and to really just shift it and see it as like an opportunity to grow. So, yeah,
sure.
I know.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So, like, I love that you're willing to say, like, this has been hard, but it's a challenge. Maybe I should change that question to just be challenge. It's a challenge. But you're addressing those. But I think that those listening, they can identify with that. So I appreciate your honesty about those.
Yeah, absolutely. As the business goes. And that is a fair thing to say is that these challenges, they put you in the uncomfortable and the uncomfortable is growth, but the uncomfortable sucks.
Right?
It's
Let's also
tough.
just be honest.
It is a
Yes.
tough spot to be
Yeah.
in. To be
Yeah.
like to do things that are uncomfortable and like they're the ones where like I feel like I'm at the cliff's edge and I'm just teetering. But
Yeah.
then push through and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, let's skydive. This is all right. But
Yeah.
man, yeah, you are not alone. It is uncomfortable to do these things, but in order to keep building the business, especially to stay in the comfort zone, it's fine. That's fine. But for me, got to keep on moving up, doing more and more.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so let's dive into specifically the marketing. So you talked a little bit about networking has been
really key for you in that. So talk to us a little bit about that process of learning the marketing side because of course you learned the horse things, right? And you had mentors that taught you those things. And it sounds like maybe your mentor even helped lean into some of that business building, if I'm hearing you right. But talk to us about this idea of, okay, one of the hats that I have is marketing and how you've learned that and why it's been so important for you.
Yeah, marketing has been an interesting one for sure. So, my number one thing is that it's mostly word of mouth for me. Like, and it's being visual at a barn basically. So if I go to a barn and people see me, it's a lot of people coming up and being like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like?" So you're always keep in mind you are always being watched, number 1. And number 2, that it's always a way to build your business and like, educate people and, help people out in that manner. So, it's always been something like every person I meet, I always in my head am like, "All right, well, this could be a future client, so let's, like, set it up that way." So, word of mouth is definitely a top thing for the marketing end, and when I go out and just work on horses, that in general is marketing to people. So, that's been a great thing on that end of things. And then, when I got started, I got to know one of my clients who was brilliant, and she created my website, and my website is beautiful. I have amazing pictures that Shelly, who you've talked to, has done, and it's just a statement, but it's beautiful and it has all of the information there. And I think it's really important for people to be able to, number 1, research who I am, because if you're gonna use me, I hope you do. You look up and see what I've done, what I offer, how long I've been in the business, my education end of things. Like, I want you to know me and what I stand behind and what I do. So that was a really important part of my website, was just kinda making it feel like me, but letting you kind of search around and see all the different things I've been a part of and done, in order to, do the best by your horse, basically. And then social media is, another big part of the marketing, and, the biggest challenge ever. Every platform is different, and every platform has different people coming to you in different ways. So, it it is still a work in progress all the time, especially with the trends that change, the different things that are hitting to go viral. It's just a wild, wild ride. So I have a girl who I work with who does all of my social media end of things, and she will kind of write up like a list of like what people are really asking for, what people are searching for, any trends that are going on that we need to like jump on. Um, she keeps me stable. At the moment, we're taking a little bit of a sabbatical so we can like gather ourselves because it's summer. She's got a kid. I've just got chaos in my brain. So we are on a little bit of a break right now, but yeah, the marketing end of things, I found, like, especially on TikTok, people are so thirsty for education. They just, like, really, really wanna be educated on how they can do things for their horse, whether, if they can't afford to be paying somebody to come do it or they live in an area where there aren't people who do this. I found they really are asking really good questions about what they can do to help their horses and those sort of things. And then
Mhm.
I've actually attracted a lot of clients even off of TikTok, that they've, like, seen the FES working and then kind of asked me questions about it, and then ultimately I've gone and worked on their horses. So I think it's an amazing thing because it's such a visual, so people can
Mhm.
actually see, like, what it means to do this and, like, what it would be like if I came and worked on your horse. And we try and do, like, some before and after things and things that way, but, yeah, the market, it's been an interesting thing to try and figure out which direction to go also, because I I am trying to, like, give the client education, like, the things that you can do. Then I'm trying to show you, like, okay, I do FES, and this is how this can help your horse and all the different areas it can go in. Also, I do coaching, so I can help you if you're an equine body worker and need to, like,
Mhm.
need guidance, you need a mentor, you need all those things. Um, so because my mentor, she started me out. So she, like, guided me down the path of, like, "Okay, you're going to school, then you're gonna go to massage school, then you're gonna, start apprenticing with me, then you're gonna start to take over my clients, then you're gonna start doing FES." So she went through all of that, but the marketing end of it, she was just always like, word of mouth, and, like, she was super well known that way. So I kind of had to go down the new avenues of, like, social media and having the website and things like that. So it's been just a learning experience, and I've been lucky enough that I can hire people who can actually thoroughly help me, because technologically, whew, it is a lot to try and figure those things out, and how to make these reels and videos and, like, have it all meld together and look great that way. Um and have me look, like, professional, and, like, I'm, like, out there teaching it up and showing you how to do the things. I definitely have a team that help me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing on my end, and I just have very high aspirations and goals and really wanna get out there and do things, so we do a lot. I think it all kinda depends on what your goals are and where you wanna go and what you wanna do and who you wanna deal with. I will say, like, you need to know who your ideal client is and market towards that person. That's the one that will ultimately make your business what you want it to be.
Yeah. So good. I appreciate that so much. And I'm loving that people can hear like and I've told some clients this, like, you don't have to be the one doing all the things. You do have to be willing. I do think there's a mindset block for some people that are not willing to do those things. Like, if you're and are just like, I just want to hand it off. I just want to hand it off. Okay, get it. 100% get it. But if you're never willing to do it, then, it's more of a mindset thing. But that doesn't mean you have to spend all your days taking an Instagram course and a TikTok course and, right? Like, putting so much time and effort into that. Found it very interesting you said you got clients off TikTok, because 'cause I'll be honest, I talked to a number of people who are really like, "I've done the TikTok thing and I haven't I got the views, I get the viral videos, but I haven't figured out how to actually book clients from it." So I
Yeah.
think that's so interesting. But I also wanna hear from you, Brooke, because you mentioned something about vets earlier, and I think that that's an interesting piece. I would love to know, like, how you ventured that, right? Like, those who are selling pharmaceuticals, right? They're stopping by and dropping things off and doing the, relationship building that way. But as a body worker, how did you build those relationships with the vets, especially those that didn't trust you? What did that look like? Or should I
Yeah.
say didn't trust you? Didn't trust that this method was what they needed. Yeah.
No, for sure. Well, I was lucky enough, obviously, I worked at the University of Minnesota, so I was developing a lot of relationships that way with the different vets in that fashion. So it would literally be like, "Let me prove it to you." So I'd work on a horse that we had there and then have them do, like, one of their exams on the horse, and if they came back to me and were like, "Hmm, alright, I think maybe we're onto something," then I'd be like, "Alright, cool, like, that's awesome, like, keep me posted," and we just kind of would work in that fashion. I also, because I worked there, I would teach all of the vet students that were coming through. I had a ton of one-on-one time with them, and actually a lot of
That's
I've got a
interesting.
handful of those students that are now my vets out in, like, out in the real world here, and I work with them now a lot, a lot. So I have
That's so cool.
really, like, dear relationships with them where they're like, "You taught me how to throw that catheter in the midst of that emergency," and, like, they're my people who, like, I didn't have to beg them to
Yeah.
like, who I because they were like, you were like, my steady person in the midst of an emergency when I was going to lose it all. So I had really good relationships with those people, or those vets, but it was also like an education end of it because they understood maybe like the massage end, but then I added in the FES and then they were like, what I mean, how is this any different than any of these other modalities that are all out there? So then I had to like break down the time and if you take the time to like really talk about like, okay, here's what's going on with the muscles, here's the muscle fibers, here's where it's going, it starts to like click with them, but it's not just going to be like one time. Like it would literally be numerous times that I would see them and they'd be talking about something and I'd be like, you know what would help that? And then we would like go down the little like reminder path and they'd be like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And then all of a sudden I started to be part of like their memory end of it where they would be working on a horse and maybe kind of stuck, or I ended up being, for a lot of these vets, their last resort, basically. So they would be like, man, we have tried everything on this horse. I still can't get it right. This is the background. This is what's going on. The owner's all in. Can you please, please, this is our last chance. And the amount of horses that I was lucky enough to turn around, that was my biggest like proof, especially to a few of these. I had a couple chiropractors and a couple vets that were like not on board with me. And after the like those, especially I had like this miracle horse that's just fabulous. And it was truly a team effort, but was like I was able to start the flow of like actually getting somewhere. That was it. So it was, the proof of the pudding, basically, where I just I stand so strongly behind what I do and I'm so passionate about it, but I also understand like I had to be convinced of FES. I had to be convinced of the massage. So why is that going to be any different from any of these other vets or, like, and you have to remember that these vets, they have a million things on their mind, on their plate. They hold the weight of the world on their shoulders. You've got to be able to provide them with something that gives them relief or makes their client have relief. So in return, they're going to feel the relief.
Mm.
So you have to kind of have a path and you always got to be popping up. You got to be in their visuals. So a lot of these vets, I'm naturally at a lot of these barns that they're at. So I make sure anytime I see a vet, you always say like, "Hey, doctor so and so, it's great to see you." I'm always very, very forward in making sure that I say hello to them, like ask them how they are. Um, that's just the biggest thing. And if I go to a barn and there's a vet there that I've never met before, I absolutely make it a part of the visit, the time there that I go up and introduce myself and make sure that I, know who they are and they know me and that sort of thing. So that I think has been like the biggest thing is just that I am always around. They're always passing. We're passing in the like ships in the night. We are at different barns. And then I'm always making sure to verbally just say, hi, how are you doing? That sort of thing. And that's how you start to stick in their mind of like, man, I'm really stuck here. And you know what? Maybe Brooke can help me there.
Mhm. Okay, that's so good. Thank you for taking time to answer that. I think that those listening, sometimes we need those reminders again to like take that step forward. Don't expect everyone to come to you, right? Go out and build those relationships. But I think the how of how you did that is good for people to hear and learn from. So, all right, you've already dropped a ton of helpful information, but I'm going to ask you one last question about the practical advice that you would give. So, if you're hanging out with a fellow equestrian entrepreneur or maybe one of the body workers that you consult with, I would love for you to share some of the lessons learned along the way, specific especially to building a business that's your version of success and what that has looked like for you and things that they could learn. Because as we've talked about, success it's important as an entrepreneur. We're all trying to build a successful business, but it's also a very subjective word. And so I think it's so important that people are empowered to build the business that meets their version of success. And so if you're hanging out with a fellow equestrian entrepreneur and they're asking you that, what are some of the advice or lessons learned that you would share with them?
Yeah. So number one is that it is not going to happen overnight. You just have to put the time in, and that means in the beginning, usually you are hustling, and it might feel just kind of endless and like you're not making progress, but it it does work for you. You will make it. Um, it's just hard. It's hard to start anything new. It's hard to spread the word of who you are and what you do. Um, but I really believe that if you continue to just keep going out there, keep meeting people, keep, showing people what you can do, it will work. It's not an overnight thing, but it stick with it. That's my biggest one. Number 2 is to never stop learning. Um, that it's huge. So, especially in the equine body work, there are a lot of people who are body workers, but you you have to constantly keep refreshing your mind. It's just like, every day there's always something new that's coming out. There's amazing studies that come out. There's really great groups. I last year did a dissection on a horse. And throughout my career, I've actually done numerous of these dissections, but it is always a mind blowing situation to like be able to go through a horse and see those muscles and the nerves and like how everything is interconnected and different ways in which the body compensates for something, or like, you can open up a horse and be like, wow, that how was that horse walking?
Mhm.
So there are so many ways to continue your education, and we've gotten so lucky with so much being now online. Um and things that way, that it's never going to be a waste of your time to put more time into the education end of it, and clients want that, and they're being educated also to want an educated body worker. Like, you absolutely need to know how the muscles work, how the biomechanics of the horse go together. You need to know all of these things in order to be the best that you can be for everyone. So that's number 2 on the list for sure. Um, Number 3 is definitely, I've stressed it a lot. It is the networking end of things. It's the relationships. Like, you will never regret having built these relationships and having people in the community, because being networked and having like a group of people that you can call on for different things. There's always different needs you're going to have, and when you build a support network like that too, then you also like you can balance off other people, but then they can balance off you, and then you're top of mind also for them to be like, "Oh, this is a great body worker, use this person." Because it's becoming such a necessity now that people are having very specific, like, routine body work on their horses all the time, and vets are really incorporating you, and all the chiropractors, the dentists, all of them, like, we're all very a part of it. So, network is a big thing. You will not regret walking up and introducing yourself to somebody new, and continuing to keep up those relationships with the doctors and stuff that you see kind of all around, and clients. The clients talk. The horse world is a small world and a very loud mouth. So, yeah, the word spreads, that's fact.
That's so good. Well, and oftentimes I hear from people like, Denise, I don't like sales. Like, I'm having a hard time because sales is a struggle. But what I always stress, like, it's relationships. Sales really comes down to that trust building and that relationship. And so, even you just saying, like, walk up and introduce yourself. Networking doesn't mean you have to go to a networking event, right? It's
Yep.
networking is really that intentional relationship building. So, I love the way that you've kind of simplified that for people to be able to see like networking doesn't have to be this overwhelming thing. It doesn't have to be a formal thing. It's intentionally stepping out and building those individual relationships is so important.
Right, right, absolutely. Um, and 4 is gonna be to set boundaries.
Oh, this is a biggie. I'm interested in this.
Yeah, yeah, so I when I was starting out, I would do anything and everything for anyone. So I was running around on weekends, on holidays, on like all sorts of things to make sure that every single person who ever reached out to me was getting seen that week. And I was running myself ragged. And because I made myself so available like that to people, then it started to get taken advantage of, and then I was mad because I was being taken advantage of, but really I put myself in the situation, and I really couldn't be that mad about it, but as the time has gone on, I just found I have to set boundaries of, how much I'm working, how many horses I was massaging in a day, um, and boundaries too with like it's real easy to get drawn into the gossip and the things that are going on in the different barns and that sort of thing. And you have to consciously remind yourself that number one, you are being watched. Number two, you are a professional out there. And number three, like you don't want to be caught up in any of that. So I had to set boundaries in like my communications with like when I leave places, I kind of dust myself off and I'm like, all right, drop that energy off to the next. Cause I have gotten drawn into the barn dramas and things like that. And in the end of the day, it just like doesn't feel good. And I don't need to be doing that. I can listen to people. I can be there as a support for them, but that's kind of all I can do. I can't control or do anything else in these situations, so I gotta set my boundary and just be a professional, be the support that people need, but, not get driven into the other extra exciting things that can happen.
That is so good, Brooke. I didn't expect you to go that direction with boundaries, but I am loving that because initially, what I'm thinking is what you said before, which is so important, right? Boundaries around your time and availability to clients and the expectations that you're building are so important. But then saying, what I'm hearing you say is, I set boundaries around my energy.
Yeah.
Like, this is where I want to put my energy. And so, therefore, I don't have to do this over here because this drains my energy. So I love that permission to set boundaries, yes, around your time and expectations. But as entrepreneurs, to say where I want to put my energy is the things that I want to grow and build and that excite me and that help my clients and help others. But if I'm putting energy over here in these like kind of energy suckers, drainers, right? Then it's not gonna help you build your business and it's not gonna make you enjoy your business building journey either. So I love that you've highlighted that.
Yeah, 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 it's just one of those things, like, as body workers, you already absorb so much stuff as it is, like, there's a lot of energy that you take in, and you have owners who these are their pride and joy, it's their babies, and if something's going on with them, you're absorbing everything coming off of that owner, you're taking in, like, the horses absorb the stuff from the owner, and now it's, like, coming out to
Yeah.
you. So I just had to make it like and I have worked through therapy, business coaches, all of this to kind of work in this direction because I didn't really understand why I was so off sometimes. And it's just that you absorb so much stuff from everyone and everything that you have to almost make like a little like thing, like a habit. So like every time I go to get in my truck after I've worked on a horse or, like, been at a barn all day, I literally go to my truck and, like, wipe my feet off, and then, like, "Thank you for that," and just kinda drop the energy there, and then go off to the next, and I've just had to make that a thing. And then, like, if I'm really still having a vibe going on, I'll get in my truck and, like, have, like, a moment where I have to give, like, 5 gratitudes of something, and then that'll really help turning things around and it's just we take on a ton, and, it's like the hairstyle, like your hairstylist that becomes your therapist. Well,
Yeah.
body workers, we become the therapist to a lot of people also. So, and I love that. It's very healing. I want to bring all sorts of things that way, but then we got to have a way to keep us correct as well.
So good. I love the intention behind that. And I like the honesty that you're like, look, we've gotten here because it's hard earned, right? You're like, I've hard earned this lesson. So, but that's why I asked that question. These are hard learned lessons that other people can learn from. So I so appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I've been lucky enough too that as far as like the scheduling and all of those sort of things, because I am still the yes girl, I have an assistant. So he does my scheduling and paperwork and all of those sort of things. So my boundaries become more secure because he's like, no, she doesn't,
Yeah.
she's going to do this. So, that that has been a blessing to me, and I've been lucky enough to have that support as well, so that helps keep things a little stronger.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, what else do you have for us? I think you had maybe a couple more if I'm not mistaken. I could tell I kinda jumped in there.
Oh, you're good. No, the only other thing I would say is you've gotta have self-care for, like, this is really hard on your body, and when I started out this, I still didn't really, like, wrap my head around it. Like, my dad's a chiropractor. I've grown up in this type of a world, I should know these things, but I really advocate, like, you've gotta take care of yourself, whether it's, like, going for massages, getting into yoga, doing anything to just kind of do good by your body, 'cause, when this body breaks down, that's it, and this is the way I make a living.
Right.
So, I've gotta really take extra care to, ensure that my body can keep handling what I do, and that's another part of why I have a maximum amount of horses that I can massage in a day, and, I work usually, like, 4-day work weeks that are insanely long and busy, but then it gives me weekends to recover and, go through that way. So, it's kinda just been like a trial and error, and what self-care is to me might not be for other people, but, whatever it is, you just gotta make sure to take care of yourself, not only for your body, but also your mind. Being your own boss, it is a lot. It is a lot on your plate, and you're not productive or anything if you're burnt out and just done with things. So, I've learned we gotta take some time for ourselves for sure.
Yeah, such a good word because you're right. I've talked to many people about this idea is that as an equestrian entrepreneur, how different it is from quote unquote 9 to 5 jobs, even though most people don't work 9 to 5, but what we still consider that because you don't leave it at the end of the day. It's still there, right? And so you have to have some ways, even I don't know if you have these, but like when you walk out that door that's behind you, do you kind of do some of the same thing? Like, okay, now I'm shifting gears and I'm not going to be like business minded the rest of this night or going into the weekend. Or kind of how I'm going to attack on and ask you that, like when those things come to mind, right? Because you can't just leave it. You leave, but you can't just leave it. So when those things come to mind, when you're like, oh yeah, I forgot to do this and that, or I have this great idea. And if I don't write it down or try to start now, then it's not going to happen. What are some ways that you have approached that? Because your business owner hat never truly comes off. You don't really leave the same way people leave an office and don't think about work again until they go back. What are some ways you've managed that tension?
Yeah, so my notes app on my phone is pure insanity because it's like a situation where I'll be like driving, whether I'm like listening to a podcast, a book, just off in my own world. If I have an idea, if I don't write it down, that it's gonna be gone, 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 and I don't know when it'll come back. So, and that helps me regardless to just like write it down because if I'm not gonna attack it at that point, that's fine, but at least it's down and on paper so I can like when I'm going back and kind of organizing my notes or like, hey, what was I kind of thinking about that I wanted to do? It's there and I'm like, haha, okay, here we go. And that's so helpful to me. Usually like Thursday nights cuz I will ride on Fridays and Saturdays, self-care, ride my horse. Um, Thursday nights are like my come down from working on horses for the week, whatever. So I try and like, whether it's like jumping into the hot tub just to kind of like relax myself, or I'll get home at the end of the day and like put the garage door down and just like, thank you. This was a great week. Now we are done. Put my bag away. And then that's kind of it. So I try to like get into number one, gratitude. I always am trying to do that because I feel like it puts me in the right frame of mind that I need to be in. And then also the frame of mind of like, it's okay, Brooke. You can just have some time. At like you don't always need to be working on the business. You actually can enjoy the life that you've created. So, and that's been a big part of things where, like, my husband and I show my horse, so we'll do that, like, once or twice a month, and then we try and, like, go out on the boat when it's summer or, like, on a trip, or I love water, so anything around water, but it's just kinda like I've got to level out my life a little bit, and I also need to, like, have some moments away from horses because I am around horses legit 24/7, and one of my free time fun things is riding my horse. So I have to go off and do something that's not horse related, and then that like renews me and gets me, back because all I this is obviously my love, my passion, my like I live for this job, but I can get burnt out because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not like I'm doing way too much, but I'm also not doing enough. I'm not getting my to-do list done," and I'm, going through all of those sort of things. So I've learned I've gotta have more of, like, an organized list of things of, like, my to-dos and things that I can get done, but then I also need to know it's okay just to take some time. And that, is still it's still a challenge, and it's still one of those things that as you're trying to be successful and keep pushing and working towards things, you need to remember you gotta take some time because a burnt out human is not a fun one, and, you're not finding the joy that is the reason why you're creating this business and what you do.
Mm, that's so good. That's a beautiful ending. Like that, I'm like, I might go back and replay that a couple times, Brooke, for myself. I think it's so important, but it's so easy because that's the thing as an entrepreneur, the growth of your business in many ways does rest on your shoulders. And so it is very easy to take on that mindset and that feeling of I'm not doing enough. And if I was only doing more, then XYZ. And or because XYZ hasn't happened, it's on me. And so I need to be doing more. Right. And so the freedom of what you have just shared, I think, is so powerful. And so, thank you for sharing that. And I hope those listening are able to really take that on and think about that and embrace that because there, yes, has to be the willingness to do the work. That's usually not what's lacking for most equestrian entrepreneurs. Except, like I said, sometimes there are people that are like, heck no, I'm not going to try that social media thing because I just don't like tech. There's that. But really, usually it's not the lack of willingness to do the work. It's the opposite. It's the lack of ability to step back and breathe. And so I think that's a really good word. Okay. Is there anything else? You've shared so much, but I always like to give just like is there a blanket statement? An open-ended question of, is there anything else that you feel like we should know before we part?
Um, Gosh, I don't know. I think it's more just that, we can do, like, so much good out there, and as body workers, you're able to jump in and help in a situation that's maybe a tough situation, like, clients come to you for all different reasons, but these horses are their outlet, and when these horses aren't doing well, then the owner in turn is not doing well. So, I think that the ending of this would be that equine bodywork is just it's an important process to, like, owning a horse and doing things, but it's a huge thing for you to carry because you get to hopefully make this horse feel way better. But in turn, you're making the performance end of this horse and this horse mentality wise feel better. But then you're also you have such a positive effect on the owner and their way of being as well. So you end up being the gift that keeps giving. So it's just one of those things that I think it's just really important to know your effect on people and the horses and how much you can do for people. And that's why it's important to just stay educated and professional and keep doing the good.
Yeah. So good. I appreciate that. All right. Before we go, Brooke, tell everybody where they can connect with you online. Um, of course, I'll have your link and all of the things in the show notes. But for those listening that just want to pull out their phone and find you, how can they find you? And then you mentioned FES multiple times. And so those listening, if you're like, okay, that's new to me, I want to learn more, Brooke is definitely a go-to for that as well. So where can they connect with you online, Brooke?
Yeah, so I have my website, and that's drasselequinebodywork.com. And then social media, I have Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and those are all at Drassel Equine Bodywork. And then I also have a YouTube channel, so that is Brooke Drassal Equine Bodywork as well, and that's kind of linked through my social medias, so you can definitely jump in there and see that. And yeah, reach out, send me questions. I'm kind of available at all areas. It might take me a second, but I'll find you and yeah, get back to you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you sharing and congratulations on what you've done so far. And I'm so thrilled and getting to watch the next phase of your business as you grow. So thank you so much, Brooke.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. You asked awesome questions. It's
Yeah, thank you. What'd I tell you, friends? I know that you loved that conversation with Brooke just as much as me. So here's what I would love to do. I'm going to share with you some of the takeaways that I had from our conversation, and then I want to hear from you as well. So drop me a message on Instagram or Facebook at Storm Lily Marketing. Send me an email, denise@stormlily.com. I would love to hear one of your takeaways from today's episode. Or, you know what could be a really fun way is take a screenshot of your phone as you're listening and then do an Instagram story and tag me in that. I would love to see what you're learning. Now, I'm going to give you a brief, one-liner of my takeaways, and you can head to the blog post that accompanies this episode if you want to go a little bit deeper in each one. So if you go to stormlily.com/188 for episode 188, then you're going to get the highlights and the takeaways there. Okay, so I'm going to give you my brief since we've already listened to the episode, and then you can get more of those takeaways there on the blog post or the show notes, which is a blog post. All right, number 1. Let go of timelines. Here's your permission, friend. Let go of timelines. Trust the process. I love that she said, looking back, I can see how every step, even the messy or confusing ones, were part of the bigger picture. It's beautiful. She said, when I finally stopped trying to force it and follow what felt aligned, things started falling into place. Trust the process. And define success on your own terms. I hope you heard that in Brooke's story. That is something we talk about often here on the podcast. Success is subjective. It's so important for you as you build your business and grow your business to know what success means for you. Clarity comes through action. If you are waiting for clarity to come to you before you take an action, it's not going to happen. All right. Now, yes, we need to have some clear direction that we're going, but sometimes you just got to start walking and then you realize that's not the right path. Let me turn around and try the other one. But you're not going to know if you don't try. So take some action. And the final takeaway was get support. Do not try to do this all alone as an equestrian entrepreneur. One of the common threads in her story was that she had a mentor, she had a coach, she had a horse owner or a business owner guiding her through some things. She wasn't trying to do all of this all alone, and neither should you. So whether it is joining my coaching program at some time, whether it is inviting a business friend to meet on a regular basis and talk about your goals and keep each other accountable, whether it is, there's so many different ways, friends, that you can get support. Actually,
Go back and listen to this previous episode. I just released a bonus episode where we talked about courses, community, and coaches, which are ways for you to get support in your business. So whatever it is that looks like for you, get some support and stop trying to do it all alone. All right, I am so grateful you joined me here. Thank you so much. I hope it's been encouraging and helpful and inspiring to you. But ultimately, what I really want is for you to walk away with at least one way you're going to take action and apply what you've learned in your business, because that's where the magic happens. All right, friends, stay tuned. We'll be back more with new episodes coming up next week. For now, have an amazing day.